Hello all. Welcome to brief orientation session about agriculture optional in general and test series in particular. So just waiting for the aspirants to join into the Zoom session. So just a couple of minutes, then we will start with the presentation so that they won't feel like they missed something important aspects. We'll wait for a couple of minutes, then we'll start with it. Yeah, sure. It would be live session, I mean lively. You can ask. But just try to. Okay, I think we can start with the session. So let them join lately. So okay, this session will be briefly dealing with orientation for agriculture optional in general, and that a series also is included in this session. So there will be mainly two parts in this session. In the first part, we will be discussing about optional in general and what strategy could be adopted for better preparation. And in the next part, we can discuss about the features of the test series, and we will take some sample answers and we will try to explain how answer writing can be done with focus on the presenting skills. So okay, let's see what are the subparts we are going to discuss in this optional strategy. So firstly, we can see the role of optional in CSE and Indian Forest Service, and why to choose agriculture optional, and what are the myths and doubts generally exist in the minds of the candidates who are preparing for agriculture optional, and the syllabus of the agriculture optional in brief, and what strategy could be adopted for preparation of optional. And in test series, we can discuss about the features, what are the things we are going to give in the test series. And we have given a brief analysis of a few questions and try to show that the repetitive nature of the question and the trend of the UPSC, which how the questions are coming and how can you address those questions. And in the next part, we can deal about the answer writing and presenting skills, how better you can present your answers with the same content, how can you address for 10 marks, 15 marks and 20 marks, how can you stretch it, how can you concise it. Those kind of presentation skill will be discussed with example. And since many students had asked for the extension of the discount, we are pleased to announce that the 10% discount is announced is extended till 12th December. So with this, let's start the discussion. So this is a brief introduction about myself. I'm Tarun Patel KR. I have done my BSc Agriculture from US Bangalore. I had secured first rank in ICAR JRF exam. So I had done my master's in agriculture in the discipline of water science and technology from IRI New Delhi. And I've been actively involved in guiding the agriculture optional aspirants for past 3 years. So let's see what is the role of optional in CSE and IFS. So why this particular slide I have incorporated is because see once you are going to decide about a optional, it plays a very crucial role in your preparation. Why? I will explain this. See, in CSE, as we know, there will be 4 GS papers, 1 essay paper, and 2 optional paper. Each carries 250 marks each. But what happens is usually students or candidates tend to give 80% of their time of preparation for GS papers itself, and only 20% of the time will be given for optional papers. See, once the mains time starts, what happens is the material for GS paper 1 to 3 will be flooded in the market. So kind of obsession starts in the candidate's mind, like I have to read that also, I have to read this also. Thus, this institution material seems to be very more convincing. I think I can pick out too many points from this material, so I have to read more from these topics. That kind of obsession starts once the mains dates is announced. So you focus mainly on these 3 papers, and candidates usually neglect GS4, essay paper, and optional paper. And if you see, when the market is, when the market is flooded with too many content for these 3 papers, you can apply your common sense. See, when the content is same for 3 papers, candidate writing answers will be same as those content, and the chances of impressing the evaluator will be less. Hence, the marks have been saturated there. It comes like 110, 120 at max, and after that there is a saturation because you have less scope for improvisation there. But while coming to GS4 and optional papers, your chance of being creative is more, because GS4 is very subjective in nature, and you should have your own opinions to write answers, so that no institution can give a exact opinion for you to ready-made answers cannot be given. So you have much scope there. Similarly, in optional paper, it is around 250 marks, and you give only, I mean, it is around it is actually 500 marks, and you give around 20% of the time. But if you give at least like 50-50, if you give your timings, and if you can achieve, let's say 300 plus from this marks, from this optional, and if you can get 100 from these things, and say let's say 140 from this, and in interview on an average, let's say conservatively, we will get around 160-170, and the chances of getting into the final list will be more. So I emphasize that optional paper should be given more importance while preparing. This is the purpose of this slide. And in IFS, there will be two optional papers. One optional and two optional will be there. The combination which you can take, which you cannot take, is been given in the notification itself. So there will be one general English paper which will be for 300 marks, and one paper will be of general knowledge, which will be of 300 marks, and these 2 marks will also be added to your main marks list. So optional, if you see, it is actually 800 marks in cumulative, and the total marks itself is 1400, which is to say more than 50% of the weightage of the marks is from optional itself. So you can think that how much the role optional is playing in this. So the majority of the time, if you are an aspiring candidate for the upcoming forest service, then you have to give majority of your time to this, and do practice the answer writing skills. I mean, you have to practice more and more of the answer writing practices. So then only you can you can retrieve your content in limited time and limited space in the exam hall. So feel free to ask questions. Okay, somebody has asked, sir, how to write answers uniquely. That actually we will be dealing in the last part of the that we will be dealing with the last part of the session. So do attend until end, because last part we have taken sample answers and we have analyzed the questions. So back end of the session is very important. So don't miss out. So your questions will be answered there. And people have also asked, like, sir, does this test series provide synopsis after each test? We will discuss that in what are the facilities we are giving and what we are not given, also included in the presentation. So please do attend until end, your doubts will be clarified. So if you have any other queries also, please keep posting it, we can answer it. Okay. Next thing is, there are so many optionals available in the market, and UPSC itself has given an extensive list of optionals to choose. So why to choose agriculture? What additional benefit does it give, so that you can take agriculture optional and you get the benefit from it? So for example, in general, I will speak why agriculture optional is beneficial. Then since many non-farm graduates, that is not from horticulture, not from agriculture, not from forestry, but they are engineers, doctors, they had asked queries about, sir, how is optional? Can we take the optional? Is it beneficial? These kind of queries I had received. Hence, I have given a separate section for them throughout the presentation. So it would be beneficial for them. So here I will discuss why it is beneficial for farm science graduates and why it is beneficial for non-farm science graduates. Okay. The first thing, it is a technical subject. That is to say, you would have written, I mean, you would have studied agriculture at least for 4 years. The graduation time, you have done like 4 years, you have studied the optional, I mean, subject you have studied, one thing. The second thing is, if you compare with other optionals like, what do you say, public administration, PSIR, this demands your opinion and they are dynamic in nature. It changes over the year. It integrates current affairs in it. But if you see agriculture optional, it is kind of static. Over years, same kind of questions have been come. In fact, by changing the language, same theme has been repeated over the years. So that kind of technicality is there. So once you prepare forever. So that option, that kind of optional, it is agriculture. So dynamism is very less in this. Static part is more. So so you can reap benefits once you prepare notes. Once you strategize your preparation, it is like done with it. whenever you want, you can just take the notes, you can revise it, you can start writing practice, then it will be easy for you. That is the benefit of technical nature of the optional. Then next thing is repetitive nature of the questions. For example, in 2016, there was a question on gene introgression and gene pyramiding. The same question has been repeated in 2019. At that time, when 2016 it was asked, it was for 12.5 marks. And in 2015, he has asked, the context was different, like explain gene pyramiding and gene introgression with respect to disease resistant variety building. So either he will change the context, or either he will add the subpart to the questions, and he is repeating the same thing again and again. So in 2016 it was for 12.5 marks, in 2019 it was for 15 marks. So this kind of repetitive nature is there, and this kind of repetitive natureness is very rare in optional subject, especially which are dynamic in nature, like maybe PubAd, PSIR. These kind of optionals will be very opinion demanding. So you have to generate opinion by reading so many philosophers' thoughts. Then you have to make your own thought so that your originality can be brought in the answer. These questions don't demand that kind of thing. If you have the concept of, say, what is gene pyramiding, what is gene introgression, then it is done. Then all you need is how to present it, how to prioritize your content, how to prioritize your space in the answer paper, how to present more and more. This is the challenge it comes, but it can be dealt easily. That is the repetitive nature of the questions. So next thing is the optional gives us scope to describe less in words and to express more in diagrams and flowcharts. For example, let's take back cross breeding. So since we were talking about the gene introgression and disease resistant breeding was disease resistant variety development was the question. So we know that disease resistant variety can be developed via backcross, recurrent selection, pedigree method. These kind of things are there. So if you start to explain pedigree method in words, it takes more than 2 pages. Since you have to give example, you have to explain extensively, it takes more than 2 pages. But if you refer B.D. Singh textbook, he has given a flow chart which can be completed in 1 page with examples and easy to impress also, because every detail will be there and it looks legible also. And while evaluating, we feel, okay, the student is knowing all the concepts. So easy to convey more things in less space. So that is one advantage here. Similarly, you can use diagrams in physiology, flowcharts. C3 cycle is there, C4 cycle is there. And even in IDM, integrated disease management, you can make small diagrams, integrated forest system, integrated farming system. These kind of things where you can incorporate diagrams and flowcharts, it is a chance for you to express more in less space and less time. So this kind of advantage is in our agriculture optional. And easy availability of the material. When I say easy availability of the material, I'm not saying that all the material is consolidated in one place and in a exam oriented manner. What I am saying is there is like TNAU material is there, graduation material is there, irrespective of where we have studied, we have graduation notes and we have Angru notes. So these kind of notes, it is readily available because they have focused on graduation exams. The orientation is little bit different. When you see the question paper analysis and the trend of the questions which UPSC and Forest Service is demanding, and if you grab those points and contextualize with respect to these questions, then I can say you have material with you. But to start with, you don't have to search too much. There is easy availability of the materials in the website itself. Like Tamil Nadu, Angru, there are material available. So you have to just take it and contextualize with respect to the exam demand. So the easy availability of the material is there. And if you strategically prepare, actually you can cover 80% of the syllabus in 3 months. I'll explain how. See, we would have studied at least for 4 years in graduation. So we will be knowing what are the major areas, major subjects they are asking. So like we know agronomy and soil science, soil water management is the main area from where paper 1 questions are coming. And genetics and horticulture, plant sciences and horticulture is the main theme where questions are coming. So we know these 4 top subjects will be the maximum questions. So identify these 4 subjects, identify the theme areas from these 4 subjects, make notes of it, And if you can prioritize your day in such a way that once you identify, for example, let's say in agronomy there is a total of for example, I'm saying, let's say 80 theme areas are there, and daily you can give 5 hours for your optional preparation and 5 hours for your GS preparation, since mains is nearby and also for other mains is nearby. So what you can do is 5 hours per day you can prioritize for your optional. In 5 hours you prioritize that I'm going to revise agronomy these many theme areas. So for each theme area you have to make at least like the content should be enough for 20 marks answer. So make notes of it like for 20 marks and prioritize your day in such a way that you can give scope for both GS and optional. So if you can strategically prepare like that, if you strategically make a timetable of your day, then you can actually complete 80% of the syllabus in 3 months, because we don't need that much. I mean, I am speaking in terms of agri graduates, because we'll be knowing the subject. We don't need that much time. So in 3 months, actually, we can cover 80% of the syllabus. Right? Scores of 300 plus is a reality. Many rankers are there. In fact, there was a senior from my campus, IRI. His name is Sushil Kumar. He got into IPS. So he had got, I think, 106 rank, and he had scored 311 marks in UPSC, in agriculture optional in UPSC. So 300 plus, it is kind of a psychological barrier in our mind. That's it. If we actually prepare well and if we are little bit good in presentation, then easily we can score 300 plus marks. So these are in general the importance of agriculture optional as a subject, and what edge it is going to give us when compared to other optionals. So let's discuss with respect to farm science graduates. As I said, familiarity with the subject will be there, 4 years of study will be there. And what this familiarity of subject gives as an advantage is that when you go to examination hall, let's say in terms of PSIR, you have read, let's say 10-15 thinkers philosophy you have read, and you went to the exam and you see that 16th philosopher's question has been asked, because the scope is wide there, they can ask. So 16th philosopher question has been asked. So you panic in the exam. So this I have not read. How can I contextualize on the spot? How can I address? If it has been asked to 15 marks, then you'll start panicking more. So 15 marks is gone. My time management is gone. How can I prioritize other questions? So this kind of panicness will be there. But in agriculture, what happens is, irrespective of vastness of the subject, anything, whatever the question comes, you'll have at least little bit of idea about it. A little bit of idea is more than enough for you to get little bit over the average marks. I'm not saying you can get very good marks. At least we can manage to get a little bit over the margin marks. So little bit over the margin marks, say for example 3 questions. So you get let's say 0.5 or one question, I mean 1 marks extra per question, like that questions, then it comes to 3 marks extra. So 3 marks, I have seen many of my seniors for getting into list or being eliminated from the list. So each marks matters. So that familiarity of the knowledge will give you edge there. And we can cover more syllabus in less time. I have explained it. And practical knowledge, this is very important part, because in 4th year, as UPSC mains is in January, so will you provide us model answers? Okay, everybody is scared of or wanting model answers. That I will be discussing in few minutes. Just hold on. So okay, practical knowledge. See, in 4th year, we are all exposed to RAWE, Rural Agriculture Work Experience Program. So what you can do is, when you go to RAWE, you feel like when you were in university, it was like being in greenhouse. You will be provided with the right condition for your nurturing. You will be given adequate knowledge, adequate every facility will be there. Once you go to RAWE and you're placed in the village, right from staying, food, everything you have to arrange. One thing. And another thing is that whatever you have studied in your 3 years, you feel like it is almost like useless, because we are not able to convince the farmers that these kind of technologies are there. Then you will identify what are the practical problems in conveying to the farmers, what actually farmers are demanding, what is the ground reality there, is our what you say subject expertise or our R&D in agriculture is really reaching to the farmers. These kind of content will be there subconsciously in our mind. What you have to do is, you have to make a notes of it. So these are the outcomes which I had gained in my RAWE, and where it can be used is, You can use it in agriculture extension part, like market intelligence and extinction methods. There you can use, and in integrated disease management, you can integrate agriculture extension there. So you can bring paper on paper to integration, so that answer would look comprehensive, and evaluator will feel like, okay, this person has read both papers adequately and he has knowledge of both the papers, so I can give at least 1 marks extra. So this kind of integration will be done using practical knowledge. So this practical knowledge plays very vital. Don't belittle it, because we tend to belittle our experience and belittle ourselves. So give more emphasis to your practical knowledge and try to integrate in your papers, and be present it in a matured way. Just don't say that I visited a farmer, he said so and so, I recommended so and so. It doesn't reflect the examination demand. So be present it in a matured way, that we can help you in test series. And so next thing is botany paper 2. Let's say you have cleared UPSC prelims in both forest service and in UPSC civil service. So what happens is, in UPSC forest service, you can take agriculture botany, agriculture and botany as 2 optionals. And if you see, the botany paper 2 is exactly as same as the agriculture paper 2 syllabus. So if you effectively prepare for agriculture optional, then it is as good as preparing for agriculture and forestry, both exams simultaneously. Because paper 2 is same. So after UPSC mains, forest service mains will be like at least like 2 months gap will be there. So in 2 months, all you have to read is a little bit of general English and general knowledge and 1 botany first paper. That's it. So if you can do it, then you have very great edge in clearing the forest service too. So for non-science background, especially the students from the science background graduates, let's say microbiology or biochemistry, biotechnology, these kind of graduates, they'll be having basic idea of genetics, breeding, at least like physiology, this kind of idea they will be having. So those kind of graduates can easily choose agriculture optional. So if you have like strong inclination towards science and you won't feel like let's say if you are reading genetics or breeding, if you feel like alien to that subject, then it is not preferable. But if you have inclination towards the science and you have a little bit of background in it, then of course you can choose agriculture optional as a subject. And this point I like to emphasize more here, the objectivity part. What happens is, let's say engineering graduate is there, and or let's say a doctor is doing preparation for agriculture optional. What he does is he takes the syllabus, he sees the analysis of the question paper. What he does is, okay, from this theme area, this many questions are coming. So for this marks, I have to read this much content and I can memorize this much. So he looks at the optional as in this objective way. What we do, what agriculture graduates do is, we attach our emotions, we slightly incline on 1 or 2 subjects. For example, say I am a graduate, I have done masters in water science and technology. So whatever the questions comes from, let's say agronomy or water related questions, I tend to write more. Though it is not demanding, I tend to write more. It creates clumsiness in answer. So that objective thinking will be diminished in our minds. But for non-form science graduates, they will be seeing the optional in an objective way. So that adds as an advantage for them. And there are many GS3 topics, like say PDS is there, market intelligence is there, doubling farmers income is there, agri insurance is there. And these kind of topics are overlapping with agriculture optional 2 and in GS3 too. So reading these topics effectively in agriculture optional helps them in GS3 questions too. As you can see, from 2016, at least like 3 to 4 questions is coming from agriculture topic. And in 2016, there was a particular, technical question itself was asked, allelopathy. That too for 12.5 marks was asked. So when such kind of bouncer questions come, you can easily tackle. So that kind of edge will be there in agriculture optional, and it also helps in prelims. If you look at the trend of the prelims from last 5 years, the questions from sustainable agriculture, irrigation management, biotechnology, GM crops, these kind of questions at least are coming around 6 to 7 questions are always coming from agriculture part. So if you have sound knowledge from agriculture optional, then you can easily tackle those questions. Again, I have to emphasize this here. What happens is, for agriculture graduates, what we do is we tend to overthink the questions which are coming from the agriculture part. For example, let's say I think in 2016 or 2017 there was a question on drip irrigation, and in three statements were there. In one statement they had given like drip irrigation tends to solve the weed problem, or it reduces the weed infestation was the statement. Usually what people do is, when they don't know any three of those statements, usually what other people do is, when three statements are there, I don't have any knowledge, they go for all of the above. But what we agriculture graduates do, okay, weed is there, irrigation is there, we put a small pipe over there and it goes to root zone, and remaining place is open itself. So why don't weeds grow there? This kind of dissection and over analysis we will do. That is not required in the prelims exam. So don't overthink in the exam. That is one of the main thing which I want to emphasize here. So that is thing. And even the engineering graduates, like rank 3 from 2019 Indian Forest Service, he was an engineering graduate, and he had agriculture as optional, and he had cleared the exam. So I'm not claiming that he read from us. I'm just quoting it as an example that even engineering graduate taking agriculture optional can clear the exam. So why I've taken this much time to emphasize these things is because this is crucial, and most of the queries which I received were like, sir, I'm a beginner, so I don't have much orientation. Please do emphasize this part they had asked. So I am catering their needs here. So if any of you are feeling a little bit bored, be bear with it. So next, let's see the success rate. UPSC itself publishes an annual report in which it gives the success percentage and number of candidates appearing, how many are passing it, those kind of statistics for every exam UPSC conducts, they are giving it. So I have taken year from 2010 to 2018, those people who have taken agriculture as optional, those people who have appeared for mains, and those people who cleared the exam. So this is the success rate. Okay, the thing I want to emphasize is that if you look at the percentages here, you may feel like it is very haphazard. Even 1.5 is there, 2.9 is there, 18% is there. So you may think like, okay, it is working in sometimes, it is not working some years. Why it is so? In 2016, if you see, 220 candidates appeared with agriculture optional for mains. Why? 2016 was one of the easiest prelims paper, because almost, let's say, 60 to 70% of the questions were current based. So those kind of questions were easy for agriculture graduates. So whenever the people has cleared prelims and entered more candidates to the mains, see the selection number of candidates, it increased. So the thing here is that prelims is becoming very dicey. Once you are sure that you are going to clear prelims, then you can have at least like 50% of the confidence that, okay, my optional is going to do well. If I prepare well, I can get into the list. This is what I want to emphasize here. Because if the number of people clearing are getting into the list is 41 out of 220, that shows that optional itself is not becoming a limiting factor to getting into the list. Prelims is becoming more dicey. So what I want to emphasize is focus more on prelims, and now prioritize your preparation in such a way that you give equal emphasis for your optional and for prelims, at least let's say up to March, so that from Feb or March can focus more on CSAT, because CSAT is becoming too difficult, especially for agri graduates who would have done mathematics since, let's say, 12th. After that, we would have lost the touch. So better focus more on CSAT and prioritize up to February, prioritize your optional and also your GS part. And from Feb, you focus on CSAT and doing more and more of the test series for prelims. And this is the purpose of this slide. So let's see what are the myths and doubts which are existing in the market about the optional. So first myth or first doubt is that agriculture optional is too vast. How can we cover? So we know that since we've done our graduation, we know that at least like more than 30-40 subjects are there. And we feel like we have to be masters in every subject to write the optional paper. But UPSC itself has given that the optional paper demands your graduation level understanding of the subject. So if you think that the syllabus is too vast and I cannot finish it in time, it is just a myth, because people after clearing prelims, since they had no option left, they had taken agriculture. Like I'm telling you about the forest service. So they had just applied like for agri and botany in the after notification. Even after clearing the prelims, they have read like just for 2-3 months and they have cleared. So there are examples like that. So vastness is just a myth. Since we know that there are so many subjects and we tend to have mastery over the subject, that kind of feeling is there. But as such, if you strategically prepare, you can cover in 3 months. And fear of making notes. This query I have received a lot in Telegram, saying that, sir, please provide us with notes. Please provide us with model answers. So I have actually dealt it in detail in next part, but since the topic came, I will explain it here only. See, what happens is, notes, as I said, it is available in online everywhere. One thing, just you have to do is analyze the trend and contextualize that content with respect to the exam and consolidate in one place. This is the main purpose of making notes. So what are the challenges here? When you take, let's say, agronomy, you take the agronomy subject and you start to make notes. You make notes for, let's say, irrigation management, critical stages of irrigation, all those things you start to make. And you feel like, oh, these kind of things I already know. Why should I make notes? It is already there. I can read it from there. This kind of laziness will come to our mind. Let's say, if I provide material to you, I cannot give like in a abstract form. I have to again make a detailed notes. So if I go into making that detailed notes, again it becomes like a book. Again, it is burden for you. You feel like, okay, I had joined the test series. He had given the notes. I have the notes. I can read anytime. But you keep it there only. Once mains comes, you take the book. You start to see too much language is there. It is not given in a precise manner. Then I have to make notes. What is the purpose? Again, you have come to the basic point that you have to make the notes. Irrespective of whatever the material you have with you, you have to make the notes. It is a boring exercise. I do know it is tedious. It takes time. Of course, it is so. But once you're done with it, it is forever. And once you actually put that much effort in making notes, you feel confident about yourself. That okay, I have given this much time and effort to making notes. I have this much content with me. So this much is enough to write the mains. That should come from inner side. That cannot be given externally. That confidence, if I give notes to you, and if you don't have that inner confidence in you, then it doesn't serve the purpose of the exam. So what I emphasize is, even though it is tedious process, it is cumbersome, you have to do it yourself. But the guidance to make the notes, let's say if you have taken the agronomy as a subject, and you are having difficulty in identifying the theme areas or contextualizing according to the demand of the question, so then I will definitely help you, like how to make notes, how to contextualize it better. So you can come with me, like let's say you have made 10-15 pages of notes, and you are having a doubt that whether it is up to the demand of the question or not. Then you can come to me. I will help you, and I will show the notes which I have made for myself, so that I can teach. Because my notes is like this much big. I had made like same what I had told mistakes people tend to make. I too had made in the beginning phases. So I had made extensive notes for myself. So I can show you there, and I can help you contextualize your content better. So that kind of guidance will be provided, but notes as such will not be given. So one thing is that. So second thing is fear of notes. It is done. Next, self-doubts. See, here I have given, you have studied agriculture for 4 years, and 4 years of study of a subject doesn't give you confidence. Then how can you think that reading a subject for say 3-4 months will give you confidence to go and write exam and clear the exam? It is kind of bluffing for yourself, because you feel like, okay, I've seen the toppers copies there, so they have written like this. If I write like this, it will be done. And there are so many coaching centers, and they have given extensive notes, and there are many mentors who can help me. So if I take that, it would be better. That is one way of analyzing. Fine. But what about 4 years of your expertise? It is going waste, right? And if you go to interview, the majority of the questions will come from your graduation background. since many of my seniors have went to interview and many have cleared, they have clearly said that 90% of their interview were based on agriculture itself. And the current government is emphasizing more and more on agriculture. So agriculture questions tend to come in your interview. And first question they will ask is like, you have your graduation in agriculture, then why have you taken other option? So how will you defend? Of course, you can defend. I'm not discouraging like taking other optional. But since you have 4 years of expertise, why are you wasting your knowledge there? So if you invest, let's say another 6 months and make notes, it will be done. Just that laziness of that 6 months period will have a large impact in later phases. So don't have that laziness. So self-doubts is there about ourselves and about agriculture optional, and whether it is scoring or not, that I have addressed. Even 300 plus scores is a reality now. And many queries were like, sir, I am still a beginner. So how can I strategize my preparation so that I can give test series also, I can prepare for my GS also. So this is the main query I had received from many people. So beginner is a very relative concept, and as such, it doesn't exist in the market. First thing, today a beginner is tomorrow a veteran. So today, whatever the condition you are in, tomorrow it changes. So if you don't start today, you will remain a beginner forever. So better start now. So don't overthink that still I'm a beginner. So don't belittle yourself. Like I'm not up to the mark of the exam. There is nothing like that. Even every cleared candidate would be having that self-doubt in the beginning, but you have to overcome it. So for that kind of thing, we will help how to overcome it in our test series also. While mentoring and one-on-one discussion, we will try to help you overcome those kind of psychological barriers. And another thing is that we have no writing practice at all. There is no answer copies available in the market. So how can I say that my answer is up to the mark? There is no good test series in the market. So these kind of doubts are there. So we are here to actually address those kind of questions. So if you want to really make a better habit of writing answers, we are definitely here to explain it, and I will demonstrate it via a sample example which I have written for myself. So how to overcome? As I told you earlier, this is not a PhD exam. This exam demands you a graduate level of understanding. So if you have graduate level of understanding, you can tackle at least like 80 to 85% of the question. If you focus on 1 or 2 questions, or let's say even 3 or 4 questions which are coming, which demands like little bit more depth of your knowledge, if you focus on that, and if you start to make notes more and more on those subjects, you miss out the 85% of the marks. So 85% is better or 15% is better. So you have to strategize yourself. So think objectively. Rationality should be there in your preparation. Don't attach too much emotions to it. So if you are preparing for exam, you see it as an exam. Don't think that I don't have that much knowledge in genetics. So if questions come from genetics, I may fail. It is not like that. Even if you can manage like somewhat write more than average content for genetics marks, and you have very good content for other part, then it is more than enough. You have to get at least 300 plus to get into the top 50. If you are good in genetics, I mean, if you are good in GS, you have to get like 300 plus in this, and average, I mean, 100 marks in others. So you will get into the list. The purpose is getting into the list, not to do mastery over agriculture. So you have to have that clarity in your mind while preparing notes, while writing answers. Throughout your journey, you should have that thing in your mind. You don't need that much expertise to clear the exam. That is one thing. That 4 years of experience I told you, and have self-belief in yourself. The world is always doubtful about everyone. They are doubtful about me. They are doubtful about everyone. That is by nature, human is like that. In evolution, if we had that doubt, we didn't have a doubting nature, we would have not survived up to here. So doubting nature is good, but don't have too much of it. Have self-belief and do more and more of writing practice. So this is also another query which I had received. Like, is it right time to start? I've given for farm sciences and non-farm sciences also here. So for farm sciences, this is the first problem. Sir, I'm a beginner. How to manage the series and also the preparation? So first thing, this is the tentative notification date UPSC has given. 2nd February it is going to come. If at all Omicron or something else comes. So 5th June is the tentative prelims date. So from if you consider December also, you still have 6 months. So you keep 3 months aside for exclusively for prelims preparation. Fine, you have to do CSAT, you have to focus on test series. So you give 3 months entirely for prelims preparation. You have 3 months with you. Here, what you have to do is, as I said earlier, prioritize your day such that you are going to face your exam tomorrow itself. What we do in graduation or post graduation is, if tomorrow is exam, yesterday will be night out. So we will read too much yesterday and going to give whatever the content we have gathered, we are going to present it. So that kind of thing should be there during your preparation, entire duration. If you have that feel, then on the day of exam, you won't have that feeling. So I have that feeling throughout the journey, but avoid it on the exam day. So 3 months, in 3 months, you have to prioritize your day such a way that you can give equal emphasis for optional and equal emphasis for GS. Let's say on an average, you can study if you are not a working person. On an average, you can give at least 10 hours a day, and you can have 7 hours of sleep. So 17 hours is gone. Let's say another recreational activities, etc., will take some time. So 10 hours a day is fine. 5 hours for your GS preparation, 5 hours for your optional preparation. As I said, identify the theme areas. When you wake up in the morning, you decide the theme areas. I am going to make notes today. Make notes of those 5 theme areas, and before going to sleep, just look at it and look at the notes which you have made. What it does is subconsciously it will getting gathered into your mind. That imprint on your mind is very essential to retrieve in the exam. Once you actually go deep into the preparation, even in dreams, you start to have those kind of answers in your mind. So that kind of preparation should be there. So this is what I feel like it would be a good strategy for both test series and preparation. And prepare now and avoid panic after prelims. As I said earlier, once prelims is done, there will be too much of material for GS 1 to 3, and you feel like my friend is doing that test race for GS and he is doing essay there, and essay and the GS4 is subjective. I have not that much notes with it, and I have not prepared that much. So if I don't prepare, then I will be out of the competition. This is the main mindset when we go into the mains. So to avoid that kind of panic, prepare now. At least like 80% of the syllabus should be covered, and you should have a good writing practice right now, so that your panic and chaosness in the end would be avoided. So that is one thing, and I have highlighted boldly here, and I have been highlighting throughout. CSAT is the main thing here. Agri graduates, and though we have very good score in GS, we tend to disqualify in CSAT. So focus more and more on CSAT, and make sure that you are clearing Indian Forest Service cutoff in the prelims. Why I am emphasizing is the insider vacancy in many states have been vacant. So if you can clear, let's say Forest Service prelims, and you have agriculture optional, as I said, botany and agri, you can take the combo, and chances of getting into the Forest Service selection list will be more. So emphasize more on CSAT. So for non-farm graduates, this is the strategy I think would be better. So from today, actually, to be precise, it would be 53 days to the notification. So what you can do is, you can analyze the question paper, can analyze the syllabus, to identify the subparts, what are the subparts in each question, and how the questions have been coming, and try to, let's say, agronomy and soil science is the major subjects in paper 1, and plant sciences and horticulture is the major subjects in the paper 2. So what you have to do is at least identify theme areas in these 4 subjects and make at least content like up to 20 marks content, you try to make it, and try to do the answer writing practice. And once the notification comes, you go with your gut feel. Like if you are feeling very easy in writing the answers, and if you are feeling like the flow of the answer is very natural and you can manage, then you can definitely take agriculture optional as your optional, and we are definitely here to help you. So non-farm science graduates can take agriculture optional. Will you be available for offline one-to-one mentorship in Bangalore Center? Yes, I am. I will be available in Bangalore Center offline for mentoring and one-on-one discussion. And people who are not in Bangalore and in other places can definitely reach out us via Zoom calls or via video calls or via offline calls. We are here to help you. and mentorship of course will be available in offline and online mode too. So okay, then go with your gut feel. So this is the syllabus. So detailed syllabus, I have given the link here. It has been uploaded in the website. Instead of putting more time in explaining the syllabus, it is available there and it is self-explanatory. So I have just given a brief here so that you can do by yourself. And this kind of knowledge will be having everybody. This kind of knowledge everybody will be having. So I will try to focus on other aspects. So strategy, as I am been emphasizing from the beginning. So this is for farm science graduates and this is for non-farm science graduates. So as I said, 10 years questions paper should be analyzed. Theme areas has to be identified and identify the repetitive nature of the questions. Make detailed notes. At least it should be for 20 marks. Why I am saying it should be for 20 marks is earlier the questions were coming up to 40 marks too. In 1900s, up to 40 marks questions were asking. These days, 20 marks will be the maximum limit. What it tends to do is, especially in section A and section B, question number 1 will be compulsory. So what it does is, for example, let's say IWM, integrated weed management is the question. And you have a content, let's say majority of the people will have content for 5 marks. He will ask for 10 marks there. So since it is mandatory for you to write, you cannot skip it. So you have to write. So at least for major subject, you should have at least for 20 marks content so that you won't panic in that first questions in section A and section B. So do practice more of answer writing by keeping time limits. If we come here, we will give that simulation of the examination, or else if you want to do it in your home, please do adhere to the time limits. Be honest to yourself in preparation, otherwise it will have impact in exams. So the main challenge would be like, once you have made notes and once you have knowledge, the next challenge will be like presenting the known content in limited time and limited space, because space is limited there. They have prescribed the word limit and space limit. So you have to fit your answer and your content into it without making too much clumsiness and without compromising on the quality of the content. You have to present it. That is the challenge. Then how you can do that, I will emphasize here in a brief, and in the series we will be dealing it in detail. So I have given a sample of theme areas, how to identify it. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a representative sample. So I have taken agronomy and soil science here, so including soil and water conservation, because from these two topics, these two subjects, at least 200 marks will be coming each year. And similarly in plant science and horticulture, at least 200 marks will be coming each year. So in agronomy, dryland agriculture, rainfed agriculture, crop weed competition, watershed management, and package of practices, they have been the major theme areas. And still there are many areas. We try to make a detailed video or detailed file on it, and we try to provide it soon. But then soil science, problem at soil and management, it has been a very repetitive question. Fertility and productivity, INM, nitrogen management, these are the main theme areas. Similarly in genetics, cell biology, cell division has been a question, because cell biology, the understanding of cell biology is very vital for understanding genetics. We can say entire genetics is standing on cell biology. Without understanding cell biology, there is no genetics. Hence the questions on cell biology has to be asked to check whether you know the genetics or not. So these questions will be repetitive. So next, mutation, chromosome, polyploidy, sterility, breeding methods, these kind of questions have been asking in genetics. And in horticulture, status, scope, prospects of vegetable, that is pomology, horticulture, floriculture, this kind of questions is always coming. Then production technology of important crops is there. And then emphasis should be given to this topic. Special techniques or special intercultural managements in each crop, like at least for major crops like mango, onion, what are the special techniques is there, that emphasis has to be given here. And post-harvest management technologies and new protective cultivation technology, like low tunnel question was asked like for 15 marks in 2019, low tunnel technology was asked for 15 marks. So those kind of special technologies and special techniques has to be emphasized. So that was the first part of my session. Now I will go to how to incorporate various content, current information in questions, particularly coming from NRM. Okay, and this is a very good question. I think he has prepared very well. So I will address it in some time. So the question is that how to incorporate various current affairs in questions. I mean current affairs content into our answers. That I will come in. I will come to that part in a little bit. Okay. Now the next part is a test series orientation. So I will explain the features of the test series which I had given in Telegram channel too. Like there will be 12 quality tests. Why I am emphasizing quality here? Because I have shown my analysis of the examination pattern, and I will also show the repetitive nature of the questions and how we are going to answer that. So based on our understanding and understanding the themes of question coming, trend of question coming, we have crafted the questions here. So it will be definitely of quality test and 12. And in market, I think this would be the maximum number of tests people are giving. And 8 sectional tests will be there. 8 and 2 sectional full length. That is to say, paper 1 full length, paper 2 1 full length will be there here. And 2 full length syllabus tests will be there, like entire paper. Paper 1, paper 2 1 test, paper 1, paper 2 another test. Like full length syllabus will be there of 2 tests. And test will address the writing challenges. Questions based on the main theme areas are being given in the test, and one-on-one discussion of individual papers will be done. In next slide, actually, I have explained what is discussion mean and what does mentorship includes, because queries have come like, sir, what exactly is mentorship? What exactly we will discuss in the test series? That I will be explaining in the next slide. So one-on-one discussion of answer papers will be done. And many people have asked like, sir, will there be a discussion video available in the portal? See, the thing is that for forest service mains, the time is very limited. And if we tend to make more and more of content and more of videos, it takes my energy, my time. So what I decided is like, we will give 2 full length tests. That is the final 2 full length test. Entire detailed discussion video will be uploaded in your portal. And for other remaining test, the one-on-one discussion what we are going to do there, we will emphasize in such a way that, say for example, you have written an answer, okay, whether the introduction part can be done better, what value addition could have been done, is the presentation is good, and content is good, is it in a matured way, has it contextualized according to the demand, whether you identify the subparts or not, what additional content you could have put. All these kind of questions will be discussed one-to-one. Why I'm focusing on one-to-one discussion is that each individual aspirant is different. I am different, you are different. Many people are having unique challenges for themselves. Say for example, I am good in writing, but at times I may not present it well. But some other person, let's say you have a very good presentation skill, but you may lacking in the content. So if I discuss generally, I will discuss whatever the content have, and I will give the content. At max, what you can do is you can write the content and you will go. But does it cater your particular need? It doesn't. So what does we do is, we will try to address the unique challenges, unique difficulties of individual aspirants by making one-on-one discussion. Once you write the test, the answer copy of yours will be coming to me. I will do a detailed evaluation of it, and I will make a note of it. Like what are the things I have to give to in a feedback. Once you come to me via call or offline mode, I will be having that answer copy with me. You will be having an answer copy with you. So you will be seeing your answer copy, and I will be discussing each question individually. Like in this question, you have done so and so. Well, okay, this is good. Address the main demand. Identify the subpart. The presentation is good. You can add this content here. So you can bring this value addition here. This kind of thing I will be providing in one-on-one discussion. So that discussion will be there. And as such, a detailed video of every test will not be provided. So I am emphasizing it here only. So I think that doubt had been asked in chats. So I think it is addressed there. So the next thing is, it will be available both in online and offline mode. And mentorship access will be there till next year mains, that is 2022. That is to say, the test series subscribers will have the mentorship access till mains 2022. And the evaluated copies of each test will be provided before the next test, so that you have the feedback of your test. And once you have written, you will be having residual memory in your mind. So if I address that test lacunae before next test, you will be satisfied. So that we will try to do like giving evaluated copies before the next test that we will be doing. So this is the detail which I also explained in the previous slide itself. Like what is mentorship? In mentorship, we actually provide guidance even after the test series. Like for example, after test series, there may be what you say a communication gap between us. So what you can do is just tell us that, sir, I am having so and so problem. Let's say I am preparing notes. I am not sure that whether it is up to the mark or not, whether it is I'm having doubt that it is not contextualized to the demand, or whether it is sufficient, or should I read some research papers or not. So these kind of queries will be there in the mind. So during entire period, like up to next mains 2022, whatever the doubts you may be having with respect to optional paper, are prioritizing your optional and your GS in a whole preparation in a holistic way, that will be included in the mentorship. That access will be there till next year mains 2022. And in discussion, as I emphasized earlier, answer copies will be of each individual will be discussed one-to-one. Discussion video of 2 final full and test will be provided in the portal. And we are trying to be more productive for the IFS mains candidates who are writing for this year. So I think up to here, everybody is fine. And I think your doubts, most of your doubts have been addressed, except for that integration of current affairs that I will be doing. So I think this much is fine. So I believe in honesty. So we are being completely honest here. There is no scope for gray areas. So I am clearly mentioning it here. I have emphasized earlier also, like what is not included in the test series, we are clearly showing here. First thing, the guidance to make notes and how to make value addition to your answers and those kind of guidance. And I will show you because I have made extensive notes, can show you, but as such ready-made answers will not be given. As such ready-made model answers will not be given, because model answer is such a subjective thing that let's say if I write an answer and if I say it as a model answer, you tend to stick to it. You won't think beyond it. So it curbs your creativity. So that is one thing. The model is very subjective thing. And while doing one-to-one discussion, how could the answer be made better? And what else content could be brought? How you can get that 0.5 marks extra? That value addition I will be giving in words with you while doing one-to-one discussion. But model answers as such will not be provided. And the intention I have clearly mentioned here, why we are doing so. The first thing is that we are trying to make our experience more productive by putting our energy and time in a productive way. This kind of notes making and content building is very mundane exercise. Even anybody can do. There, our experience is not benefited for you, because if you sit for let's say 2 hours or 3 hours, you yourself can make notes. Then you only feel like this person has cheated us. He has not given his experience, or he has not given us that fine tuning what we need. So you won't feel that cheatedness in the end. That's why we are putting our energy in the right direction here. And answer writing is a creative art. According to me, it is a creative art, and it varies from person to person. Let's say if I give model answers, you tend to stick to it. You won't think beyond it. Let's say I will show the sample answers in the end, and I will show a few mistakes what usually aspirants do, and I will highlight there. And I will also show how a model answer or sample answer could be presented in different ways. So model is like subjective and a kind of utopian concept. It doesn't exist in natural. So don't what I say, get obsessed with that model answers or making what you say ready-made notes, getting ready-made notes. These kind of psychologicalness has been created in the market since GS preparation people will tend to give the material. You have that kind of psychology in your mind. You have to overcome it, because this is a different optional. Dynamic options is different. This is a kind of different optional. So you require different strategy, different from others. So that's why this is what is not included in our test series. So be clear about it. And in the end, don't feel like you have been cheated. And this is the thing which I've been emphasizing for a long, that is repetitiveness and the trend of the question. I've taken a simple concept over here, crop weed computation. So this is the theme. So as you can see, from 1900s till 2020, at least one question, one or the other year, one question is coming from crop weed computation. Crop weed computation. At least one or the question is coming. Why it is coming? Because if you want to understand the weed science, the basic understanding of crop weed computation, what are the factors affecting it, how weed affect the growth of plant crop, this is very vital for understanding the weed science. That's why this question is like core of weed science, and this question tend to come. And here I have given the analysis of it, like the theme of crop weed computation remains the same. The change is that the marks allocated is different over the years. How he has done that, he has increased or decreased the subparts of the question. Let's say here in 2014, he has given blankly that describe crop weed computation and the marks is 20 marks. So you will feel like a kind of panicness will be there. Like for 20 marks, just one word. I mean, describe is just a keyword he has given, then concept is there. So what are the subparts you have to bring in it? And how can I write for 20 marks? At least you have to write in four pages. So what are the content I have to make it, and how to present it? How can I prioritize my space there? These are the kind of questions you will be coming in it. So that is one kind of thing. So next is either is relating it with integrated weed management, or is relating it to the herbicide management, or is asking for specific crop weed computation. Like I think somewhere he has asked for rice and wheat. So either he will ask in a particular crop specific manner, or integrate with some other weed management practice, and he is tending to ask these questions more and more. So this is one kind of analysis which you have to make. I have made this for crop weed computation, but extensively you should make. And if you come to us, we'll help you in analyzing it and help you prepare in this manner. Similarly, in paper 2, cell biology is a repetitive theme. See, because as I said earlier, the understanding of genetics stands on cell biology. And if you're good in cell biology, you can easily answer the questions of genetics. So one or the other, like cell organ analysis I will show. One or the another cell organelle has been asked here. Sorry. One or the another cell organelle has been asked every year. And if you include a chromosome in this theme, then the number of questions coming will double, because each year chromosomal aberration, structural or numerical, will be there. And structural aberrations, structure of the chromosome itself is a question, chromatin is a question, and aberrations is a question. So if we include chromosome in this theme, then the number of questions will double. So this is the repetitive nature of the questions in cell biology. Since why I has taken cell biology and crop weed computation is that one theme I have taken from paper 1 and another theme I have taken from paper 2. So that comprehensiveness should be there. So this is like the important aspect of the the entire session. So here I have given a question. So if you feel like you can answer it, you can try it. I will give like 3 minutes, at least write a framework of it. And if possible, you can just type it there. Sir, every year 20-30 marks questions are really unknown for non-form student. Does leaving that topic will have any impact? Okay, I will address that. So even online aspirants can take 2 or 3 minutes of your time and try to make a structure for this question. And you people too can do it in offline mode. Just observe the question. This is the keyword here, and there are 2 concepts asked here. And the thing is that he is asking for developing disease resistant varieties. Just make a framework of it. Like for 15 marks, they will give three pages. So in 3 pages, what are the structure you are going to give? Just try to make a this thing framework so that it will be helpful for you people. Just if possible, you people to do, because this shyness has to go. This shyness has to go, and you have to start writing. I hope this thing is fine with our online attendees. Yeah. And if possible, just give a framework in the chat section so that I can see. So the question from non-form science graduate is that, sir, every year 20-30 marks questions are really unknown for non-form students. Does leaving that will have any impact? See, if you leave that 20-30 marks in entire, then definitely it will have the impact. Better you write very good answers for other topics, and for this really unknown questions, try to write at least like below, I mean above average kind of content you should have. That you can have by reading like at least like even the online material which is available. Just by reading that, you can definitely get that content to write. Let's say if it is a question for 10 marks, you can at least get like 2.5 to 3 marks by writing average or above average content. So I think that addresses your question. So how to incorporate various current information in questions, particularly coming from agronomy, soil science. Okay. Okay. So let's take, I mean, Avinash has asked this question. So Avinash, let's take an example of, let's take a theme of problematic soils. Okay. In problematic soils, every year soil manage, I mean, salinity management question, one or the other year is coming. So if you take salinity as a topic, and if you read Hindu newspaper daily, I think somewhere around 3 or 4 years back, there was a flood in Kerala and soil became very saline. And they had taken this thing, salinity resistant variety from West Bengal to Kerala to grow there. So you can take that particular variety and explain its features, and you can incorporate in this like management of salinity soil. So you can incorporate that variety. So developing this kind of variety, we can tackle the problematic soil conditions. So I think I have addressed your query. And if you still are not satisfied with it, please give another question. I can answer it. I think 2 minutes is done. So hope online attendees to have given a framework, but no one has uploaded it. So do upload it. I will try to see. And I think you must have written it. You must have written it. Okay, fine. Now, okay, fine. Now, before going to the sample answer, I would just like to give brief intro about gene pyramiding and gene introgression, and what is the context this question has been asked here. So gene pyramiding and introgression. To see in a overview, we feel like both are almost same concept, and there is only like few minor differences is there, but the marks have been allocated for 15 marks. So the challenge is how to write for 3 pages. This would be the challenge. So before addressing that, pyramiding and introgression. So gene pyramiding is usually done when we have a agronomically superior variety. Let's say in tomato, we have a very agronomically superior variety, but it is very resistant to bacterial blight or rot. These kind of diseases, it is very susceptible. But if we can incorporate that this is resistant to that variety, it will be more preferable among the farmers. So this is the demand for the breeder. So what he does is in gene pyramiding, he takes an agronomically elite cultivar and the other cultivar which has a very good resistance but agronomically poor. He try to stack those genes which have disease resistance into agronomically elite variety, via backcross or recurrent selection, he can do so. This is what gene pyramiding is done. In gene introgression, it is mainly done to bring the desirable trait from the wild variety to the cultivated variety. This is the main difference. And here a particular gene or trait can be transferred at a time, but here multiple genes can be done. Hence, it is also called as gene stacking. So this is the main difference. So at least like if we have prepared for, let's say, 6 months, we will be having this much content. This is generally we will have, but how to present it for 15 marks? This is the challenge. And the integration here or the context here is that we have to describe these two concepts too, and how it is used for developing disease resistant varieties. This is the demand of the question. Now I will show the sample answer. I am saying it as sample answer, not as model answer. So what you can do is, so this is, sorry. So this is the question, as I said earlier. So it is as per 15 marks. So what you can do here is, you can introduce the topic in brief by saying that, by giving brief idea about crop improvement. What does crop improvement do? It basically tries to bring one or other genes or traits into the desirable cultivar. So that is what crop improvement does. So that I had written it in big words so that it is legible for you people. So you can decrease your font size, so it will be more what you say, presentable. So you can introduce it. So introduce three lines. Next, what you can do is provide a good technical definition here. Whenever the conceptual questions is asked, don't just give a, I mean, it's fine when we are discussing like this, we tend to give the general intro because we have to make sure that you understand the concept first. So here you try to give the better technical definition, like assembling multiple genes with known effects on the target trait. So this kind of technical this thing definition should be given here. So gene pyramiding is done, definition is given. Next, give the objectives. Objectives, why gene pyramiding is done. So after giving objectives, up to here objectives is done. So gene pyramiding can be achieved via backcross. So how it can be achieved, you give different methods here, and then take an example. And here you have to bring your technical knowledge, and here you could bring like whatever the current affairs is there, because many times PUSA will be developing many varieties, and another institution will be developing many varieties, so that you can take the parentage of that, can incorporate in the answers too. One thing here, I have taken chili as example. So chili, I have taken parent A as Arca sulfal, which is agronomically elite variety, and it is resistant to powdery mildew. That is, I am marking it as gene 3 here, and susceptible for Phytophthora, root rot, and bacterial wilt. But here I have taken donor parents. 2 is there. One is CM334, which is resistant to Phytophthora rot, and parent 3 as Anugraha, which is resistant to bacterial wilt. I have taken it as gene 2, and this is gene 1. So up to here, this is the technical knowledge. I mean, specific knowledge for the demand of the question we need. We know the backcross. At least if you have read the breeding, we know the backcross. Up to here it is required. From here you can write. So this is where we can bring the value addition. So here we explained the backcross in brief. So here another thing I have to emphasize here is I made it intentionally clumsy here. We tend to dump all our known knowledge into paper. Though irrespective of whether it is demanding or not, we'll be tending to dump the known content here. So it looks very clumsy. When any evaluator, he takes the copy, first he looks at the presentation, like how legible it is, whether diagrams, I mean, especially for breeding and cell biology kind of questions, whether diagrams is there, whether presentation is good, whether writing is legible or not. That kind of what morphological thing should be good. So intentionally I have made clumsy here. So what you can done is you could have precised it better. You could bring this to here and save space here so that the flow chart would be more legible here. So this is one thing I have to emphasize here. So this flow chart and Baracos, it is known to everyone. So you can do it. So this is the main thing, like specific thing has to be brought. So we had doubt that how to explain the gene pyramiding and introgression, especially for disease resistant variety. So we have taken one particular example. We have given the parentage, susceptibility and resistance, how the resistance is brought. So in F6, the F6, the sixth generation will have, after doing selfing, we will have the final variety which will be having disease resistance and also the agronomically superior quality. This is how this thing gene pyramiding is done. Fine. So in fifth generation, just give the after diagram, just give the conclusion, like what you have actually tried to do in it. So give the conclusion in it. So gene pyramiding is done. Now the next part is gene introgression. Gene introgression. So give the definition for it. This is the definition. And then give the example here. I will take an example of chickpea. So parent 1 and parent 2 is there, Pusa Vijay, which is agronomically elite but susceptible to fusarium wilt. And here Vijay is there. This is a desi variety, I mean desi cultivar, so resistant to fusarium wilt. So this disease resistant trait has to be passed to this. So we have done the crossing. So back crossing 1, the F1 we have got, again we back cross with the parent 1. So we've done the selfing, and in the fifth generation what we have got is a Pusa 256 variety which is resistant to fusarium wilt. So this kind of representation will be more than sufficient to get good marks, very good marks. So this is what I feel like it may give you like 0.5 extra. So the question was like how to explain those two concepts and explain how disease resistance can be imported. You've done that. What you can do is, okay, we have done that also. The disease resistant has been imported, but whether it is economical or not, whether it is good or not, so the disadvantages are there. The linkage drag is there. The good trait also has linkage with bad trait tends to come. That linkage drag is there. Then very time consuming and cumbersome, very labor intensive breeding procedure. So what, and it is very difficult for handling very large populations. So these difficulties are there. So what we can do is we have come up with technologies like marker assisted selection. So marker assisted selection will give us economical, efficient and speedy development of the disease resistant variety. When you try to emphasize particular thing, that put a hyphen here, underline it, so that whatever the main thing you have to convey to the evaluator will be conveyed. So this kind of thing can be incorporated so that that 0.5 extra edge can be provided to you. So I have taken another example in horticulture. That one was bit of conceptual, where content is limited and you have to emphasize little bit and you need little bit more of presentation knowledge. And this is like you have most of the people will have sufficient content. How to present is the challenge here. So that kind of question I have taken here. So do take 2 minutes and try to make a framework for it. Yes, Avinash, it is called as Pokali. So I think I had addressed your query. Some aspirant has asked a question, sir, how to manage package of practices, that I would be addressing in this question. See, and some student has asked like how to manage current affairs in answering with respect to agriculture optional. See, what I had told you, like with respect to that problematic soil management, that kind of integration could be brought. So where can you find that kind of current affairs is like from Kurukshetra is there. It is mainly focused on rural empowerment and agriculture. So you can find sufficient examples from there. And agriculture today is there. And these kind, sorry, these kind of magazines will give their annual report from where you can get current status, production, productivity, all those things, and the current optionals related to it. Yeah, many people have given the definition of this thing. Yeah, but many people have given the framework up to where they have given the definition and all those things, but that particular example say is missing. Yeah, I think another student has given a framework for this question. So, okay, status according to government reports, climate, soil, temperature, pH, seed rate, showing timing, spacing. Yeah. So POP I have an idea. I think other aspects how to write I will be dealing now. So at least I think it is a good attempt for you to write this framework. I think 2 minutes is over. We can discuss the framework here. Okay. So we can see the subparts of the question here. First thing is asking for present status of vegetable cultivation in India. This is one subpart of the question, and describe package of practices for specifically Rabi and for Kharif onion, and it is for 20 marks. This much analysis I think many would have done, but do identify all the subparts of the question, because why I'm emphasizing on subparts of the question is, while I have been evaluating many copies, students tend to neglect one or two subparts of the question. Though they don't do it intentionally, what happens is you will see one keyword. Let's say, for example, present status of the question, present status of the vegetable cultivation. So what happens is, in your mind, suddenly this aspect will become more and more emphasized in your brain, and you will start to emphasize more and more in the answer. And in the end, you won't have much space, though you have content for another part. So while in the beginning itself, identify the subparts of the question, and total marks is this much. So how much this part of the question would be having the marks weightage? How much of the marks would be for this thing? So how much space I should be giving for these things? So this kind of prioritization should happen before starting the answer. So that's why I'm emphasizing here the subparts of the question. Okay. So these are the subparts of the question. And here what I want to highlight here is why these kind of questions tend to repeat year after year, though it is kind of like a very static part, except the data, it is very static part, and everybody can expect this question. Why is, see, India is actually second largest producer of vegetables in the world. But if you look at the global export potential or global export market of India, India is very meager amount, less than 2% of the global market has been captured by India. Why is that? That is the main policy question for the administrators. So this kind of knowledge is very important for the people who are going into service. So they're testing that kind of knowledge here. That is one thing. And here Rabi and Kharif specifically asked. Rabi, of course, is a main crop. Onion is grown in a Rabi, so it is mainly a Rabi crop. Why Kharif is asked? Because onion is kind of a political crop, because it has toppled the governments many times in many places, like Delhi. It has toppled the governments because especially after September, it skyrockets. The prices skyrockets. So what people tend to do is, though Kharif is an off-season crop, and they grow there, and the main intention of them is to capture that off-season market, because their excessive demand will be there, supply will not be there. Whatever black marketing they cannot do. So what they will do is they sow the crop in June, July, so that they can get the harvest in by September, so that they can capture that 3-4 months gap is there, so they can capture that market. So this is the major reason why onion is becoming a political crop. So that kind of knowledge is also essential for us. So what I am trying to emphasize here is, while identifying the major crops, see what are all the major crops grown in India. One thing, area wise, productivity wise, and nutrition wise. One thing you can identify like that. Another thing, like pulses. Though we are producing well, we always have shortage of pulses. Why it is so? It is a question. So any question on pulses, any POP of pulses, especially of the special packages, especially of the special management techniques, should be given emphasis. So this kind of analysis, if you have, then you can make out like 10 crops for each thing, like cereals 10, pulses 10. So it narrows down your preparation. So that is one thing I want to emphasize here. Now let us see the model answer, I mean sample answer. So as I said, those were the subparts of the question. Now we can give a brief intro about the question. Let's say India is blessed with diverse agroclimatic zones, which enables us to grow different kinds of vegetables. That kind is more than enough. You can actually directly start from current affairs, I mean current status, but giving this kind of thing is like giving proper structure and transition for the reader. So current status. Here, first point, and while giving current affairs, it should not be like in a haphazard way. You should try to convey a story which you are going to build. Like for example, so and so is the production productivity of India, and in the back end you can say, despite these things, we are lacking in so and so. That is also a status, isn't it? Not just highlighting how much production is there, productivity is there, is not the main purpose of the question. You also should show what are the lacunas in there. So that kind also you can incorporate here. So while explaining the current status, there should be a proper structure in the points. Like it should not be felt like haphazard. Once you say, like for example, so and so much of production is there in this current year, like that you will write here, and in second point you will write like so and so lacunae is there. That won't meet the purpose, because you are saying a positive point here, negative point here. It has to be a story kind of thing. So here I have given the recent advanced estimates of the Ministry of Agriculture, which says that the 329 million tons of production have been done, and it is overtaking the food grain production. So this kind of thing emphasizes that horticulture is gaining momentum. So after this, maximum production was seen in vegetables, especially these three crops, and in fruits, these two crops. After that, in India, second largest producer in the vegetables, and I given production productivity and compared it with the China. Okay, so in next point, what we can do is increasing the vegetable production. So how much per annum has been the increase in productivity, that I have given the status, and then 5 states are accounting for more than 50% of the vegetable production. It is significant because those 5 states are contributing to the maximum. This kind of basic knowledge should be there. While you read be it economic survey or agriculture census data, or data related to agriculture, you should have a framework in your mind, like what are the points I should be getting from it. Rather than reading like a layman, you should have a framework in your mind and try to extract those kind of points from those reports. Instead of reading extensively, have a framework like this. So what are the main emphasis I can give is, so 5 states more than 50%, which is very important. I can take a point from here. Production productivity minimum I have to write, then I have that data. And then what is the export potential, and which are the main crops and where it is mainly grown, and how it is contributing to the production and productivity. And do mention the source of data, because people tend to just, since people know that while a status question is asked, they have to write the data, they will write the data. How credible it is, from where you have taken, that will be the question. So you have to give the data there, I mean source of data there. That is one thing. So in last I have given the export scenario. Then up to here I have explained this thing, current status. Next, package of practices. Here Rabi onion, I have explained it. So here package of practices, there was a question, so I am addressing here. Just make a note of these things, like 1, 2, 3. What I have written is this kind of act as a skeleton, basic skeleton for you, and basically you can do fill in the blanks kind of thing for other crops. Like first thing, varieties should be there, and it should be specific to the Rabi onion. So don't write kharif or general variety here. Be specific to the Rabi onion. So variety is there, and in soil, it cannot be grown in heavy soils. It requires a sandy loam or silt loam, which is more suitable, and give specific pH and avoid heavy soils. That kind of thing. Then climate, it requires mild climate for vegetative growth, especially like tuber crops. And there will be critical growth for growth of development for every crop. For let's say groundnut, peg formation is a very crucial stage. So those kind of stages, what particular temperature is needed, that has to be mentioned. Like for here, vegetative growth, 13 to 21 is important, and for bulb development, 16 is important, and for bulb maturity, 25 to 30 is important. So this kind of details should be there. Once we see this, the evaluator should be convinced that yes, he knows the specific details of the Rabi onion. He has not just written about onion, he has written about Rabi onion. So next thing, sowing, seed rate, specific thing, you have to write here. Spacing, you have to write. Then soil preparation and manuring, what are the special practices here, that has to be written. And what is the recommended dose of fertilizer, and how will you apply it? 50% of fertilizer will be applied in the initial stage, and another 50% is applied when those kind of things has to be given here. And irrigation, harvesting, and curing is the main thing here, because it gives good skin color and avoids the disease development in the storage thing. And here I have given the Kharif onion. See, intentionally, I have made this 20 marks question, which has to be written in 4 pages, into 6 pages. Why? There are many purposes for it. I will explain one. First thing is, there were popular demand about model answers, right? If you tend to make model answers, it will be like this. Is it helpful for you? It will create more doubts in your mind. Like, this much content is there and you feel like everything is important in it, isn't it? So you have to try, you have to put all this into the 4 pages. Is it possible? It is not possible. Instead, now I will say how it can be written in 4 pages, and the major themes can be addressed, and how different presentation could be. Okay. So this is the question. Fine. The introduction, it will be right. And then for current status, you can precise here. I have purposefully focused more on the language part here. What we tend to do is, whatever the thing we have read from the standard sources, we try to retrieve same content in the exam. Like, whatever the content it is there, I have to write the same thing. You know, that kind of mindset will be there. So you can precise it. One thing you can say, according to Ministry of Agriculture, so and so is the production. Just say horticulture crop production, give the value, then give the productivity for this thing, food grain. Just in 2 lines you can concise it. Similarly, you can do for all the things. So effectively, you can address that status part up to here. You can avoid this thing, this extra thing you can avoid. So you'll be left with 2 pages, right? One page is done. And moreover, this question will not be, this question will not be printed. So you'll have that space too. So 2 pages, you have written the status part. Now the package of practices, they have specifically as Rabi and Kharif in such a way that to test whether you know the difference between the Kharif and Rabi cultivation. The main difference is that in Rabi cultivation, you will have a level field, and you will grow on the level field itself. In Kharif, what you do is you grow in the ridge and furrow method, because Kharif is rainy season and you have to avoid the water stagnation. So you have to grow in a ridge and furrow method. This is one difference. So whatever the main differences is there, see, variety is definitely will be different. So you write variety here, you highlight it as Kharif, Rabi, give both the things here. This is one kind of presentation. Similarly, soil, it is same for both the things. So climate is also same. So the major differences then come is soil preparation, that is soil preparation and manuring. Here the differences will come, highlighted. Like ridge and furrow is followed in Kharif, and here flatbed technique is followed here. And there is difference in nursery management. In nursery management, here we transplant the seedlings directly to the field, but there we will use bulbs. The sites will be used there. So those kind of differences first you highlight in one page. In another page, you can just give the general package of practices, like which is similar for both. That can be addressed up to here. So now 3.5 pages is done. So for value addition, just to convince the examiner that you know why that Kharif onion was in use and why examiner asked that question, you can write this as explained earlier, because shelf life of onion is around 6 months, and Rabi onion harvested availability in market will be exhausted by September. So cater that mismatch in demand and supply, Kharif crop is grown. And when compared to cost and benefit ratio and income, farmers will be, though the production and productivity of the onion is low, like around 10 to 20 tons will be less compared to Rabi. Here the income generated will be more than the Rabi crop. So this is the major stimulus for the farmers to grow. So you can add this part in the end, so that you can bring the value addition too, you can change the presentation too, and you present almost the same content. So that's why I said that we are not providing the sample answers or model answers, because same answer can be presented in thousands of ways. So if I give one way, you will stick to it. Your creativity will be lost there. And if you lost the creativity, you will lose the edge. So gaining that edge over others is very important, especially in these kind of static optionals. And I also do recommend that discuss preparation. Well, coming to preparation, if you prepare, let's say isolated in a room, or let's say just two friends are preparing together, what happens is two friends will be thinking same, will be almost of the same education level, thinking will be same, and whatever the things you read, you will read. But when you get into a group, let's say into a test series or into a classroom kind of situation, what happens is you will see the diversity. You can see what is the difference between you and others, where you stand in the group. Let's say if in insights, there will be a crowd of, let's say, 30 people for a test series. So in 30, you can easily see in 30, I'm standing here. So let's see in national level, how could I stand? So this kind of analysis will be there in your mind. So it promotes you to read more and more. So getting into this kind of environment is important. And I do recommend that do not share your handmade notes, but do discuss with others. Like with respect to framework, you can discuss. But whatever that fine tuning points will be there, right? You can keep it for yourself, because this is a static subject. Once you give that, you will lose the edge. I'm not saying that what you are going to convey to other, he is also going to write it in the same way. But still, I do recommend that just keep that little bit of edge for yourself while discussing, but do discuss the subject adequately with a group. It helps you in revision, in memorizing, and in retrieving. So these are the main points I wanted to highlight. And oh, and another question is that, is it necessary to take coaching for the optional? Is test series sufficient? See, the basic purpose of this test series is that we want to give much of our experience to you and guidance to you, and we want to make you move away from the fears and that psychological barriers you have about the optional thing. And if the demand is more, like many people start to ask, sir, we still want coaching classes, I mean optional classes in detail, we will do the optional classes. But as such, writing practice is the key here, because content availability is there. So writing practice is the key here. I think if you have content, then test series is more than sufficient for you to get into the list. And the final things which I want to say from my side is that see, we have kept the fees too low for this course. You can compare it in the market. It is available for you to compare. The thing is that, and we have given 10% discount too. The purpose is that since even I am from an agriculture background, my parents, even they did agriculture for livelihood in their early stages. So I do feel empathetic that most of the agri graduates are from agriculture backgrounds only, and even today many of their parents would be doing agriculture for their livelihood. So this is the main purpose. We have kept the fees too low, and we have kept the 10% discount too. And since the many students have asked, like, sir, please give us 2 days more, do extend the discount for 2 days more, we have extended the discount till 12th, so you can take the benefit of it. So do register for the test series. I'm not promoting it as such. The basic thing is that while I started preparing, I felt like there is no guidance for it, and many people actually discouraged, like, this is not a good scoring and all those things. So I overcame those things, and I genuinely feel that there is a lack of guidance for agri optional. So the intention is to provide good quality for you at affordable prices. So finally, I want to thank Insights IAS and Vinay sir for believing in my capacity that I can deliver agriculture test series for you guys, and I can guide you to clear this examination. So I think this would be the session. So can we get offline test at Delhi Center? Yeah, you can get offline test at the Delhi Center, provided that there is no COVID restrictions there. You can definitely go on write offline test in Delhi. So I think this would be enough. As promised, I have completed in 2 hours. So if you still have any queries regarding test series or even for optional as such, you can reach us at Insights IAS offline center, or you can directly telegram me. The telegram ID has been provided in the Insights, Tips and Guidance Telegram channel. It is like at KRTP12. So you can reach me. We will be here to provide. Hyderabad Center says that no optional test series offline. So we will speak to them. Hyderabad Center has, yeah, we will speak to them. We will arrange it. Provided that there is no COVID restrictions, it will be available. So I will ask them once. So I think this would be the session. Thank you. Thank you for patient hearing and joining the test series. Thank you.